Well, hello everybody. It must be Wednesday after. Oh, it's still morning, right? It just seems like the afternoon to me. How you doing, Francisco?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for being here today.
No, thank you.
All right, so we named this buyers beware because you were talking before we came on. We were talking about what's going on with you buying your own house, and I tell everybody if you're in the business or if you're working for a company and you're helping people buy houses, you really have to own your own home so you know what you're going through, so you know what your clients go through, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's crazy too, because it also highlights just the importance of having an agent too. And, having that representation, because it's just completely removes emotion, right? Like that's the biggest thing. And, we do everything that we can, because a lot of the times, and I'm seeing it firsthand myself. It's funny, going through, and it's like, man, I know that these are the things that I normally tell my clients, but it's hard to understand it. But yeah, I see definitely the importance there. But also, like we said, right, buyers beware is just really be cautious with also, who is representing you on your inspections and things like that as well.
So you're talking about like the inspection companies that are hired. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. Because and granted, that's where we also come in and give proper recommendations and try to get you guys, super reputable companies out there. But sometimes too, because I know obviously, the basis is, home inspection, pest inspection, roof inspection. Sometimes it is okay, to take it a step further. And actually fully understand, what you are purchasing. Because, sometimes there's just little things that maybe someone's not going to catch. Like, for example, I had one recently where on mine, it's just home inspector catches something, the pest inspector doesn't. And that's what's a good thing about also doing them all, is so that you can cross-reference.
I'm just curious, what did they find, if you don't mind talking about that?
So yeah, it was pretty much, it was on, there's just a leak that's coming from the bathroom, and it's going down towards into the basement. Pretty cool. I'm getting a little basement there, but yeah, no. So the water is kind of leaking into the basement, and then it's like the home inspector, he noted it, but the pest inspector didn't. The good thing is since the home inspector did, and you actually read through and you really review everything, go line by line. He pointed out that to him, it didn't seem like it was the code, and obviously, there was an issue considering the leak. So I had a plumbing company then go out there, and with them going out there, they were able to identify, like, yes, that there's a leak. But the thing is they're like, we don't know exactly where it's coming from. We got to rip a hole in the wall, right? So things like that, it's important to obviously know, because you don't want to open a can of worms, right?
Right.
And it's like they're saying, I mean, and then they even in the house that I'm buying, I mean, it's some investors that went in there, and I love the idea of investing and flipping and everything. Granted, it's what allows these houses to stay in their good conditions and everything. But sometimes some investors kind of take the route of
the easiest and not
shortcut.
Really doing putting lipstick on a pig and not doing anything.
Yeah, it's like I'm saying, and granted, I mean, it looks really pretty, but then it's like, you look at the insides, everything, and that's where it's like the plumber, my plumber said, he was like, man, these people, pretty much what they did is they came in here, they made the house look super pretty, and then on the important things they kind of just cheaped out. He's like, it's almost like a scam. He's like, it's like going to a car salesman, right? And they're like, yeah, here's this car that's got only 100,000 miles. And then you start driving it, and then you realize, it's actually 300,000 miles. They just put the odometer back. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's just, and it's like he said, it wasn't a code. There's just some of the things that he was like, man, I mean, it's acceptable. It's something that can be done, but typically is frowned upon, with other plumbers. So, just certain things, it's very important, especially when, you consider the amount of money you are spending, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it just kind of goes back to proper representation across the board, and just, fully trusting and going with people who, are trustworthy and have integrity, right? And, full on do their jobs. I know sometimes some inspection companies, they go out there and they're done a little too fast. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah,
and some do such a job that you're like, I'm walking from this property, right?
Yeah,
because they overdo their job. Sometimes I always tell people, they tell you that your baby's ugly, whether it is or not. They want to make sure you understand what you're getting into. But I mean, it's important. And later on, once because you need to know what you're getting into so that something doesn't come back and bite you later. A friend of mine's buying a house right now, and he was like, should I just take the money for the roof? There's some issues on the roof. I'm like, no, have them repair the roof, because once you start opening that up, it could be even more money because, oh, sorry, we can't do this. We have to put a whole new roof on it. I'm like, have the seller at this point right now, when it's as I keep saying, a kinder, gentler time period right now, have the seller take care of that. Because if there's a major issue, they'll have to re-roof it or something. And then that's not on you. Right. They might give you $7,500, but that roof is, $20,000 or $15,000. You don't want to take on that responsibility.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like you touched up on it, that's where it's this is the perfect time to take advantage of
and we don't mean take advantage, we mean like utilize
seizing the moment, right? It's just actually like being able to like, which it's like, it's not even taking advantage. If you really think about it, I mean, obviously
it's the wrong way of using it, taking advantage of somebody. No, they did that to buyers the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
We're just saying right now is kinder, gentler. You can ask for repairs, ask for some credits, and just work it with them. They'll work with you. Every seller's working with everybody right now.
Yeah, 100%. Like I have one right now too. Even I'm actually representing the seller, and the buyer just kind of had like a little bit of a holdup. They just saw something and they're like, oh man, it looks like mold. And with mold inspections, I mean, you got to send it off to a lab. Right. It's got to go back.
Just because it's black doesn't mean it's bad.
Right. And then that's the thing too, is they send it all out.
Yeah.
And they send it all out, and it takes a while. Right. Which we were going to be out of our contingency periods. And sure enough, I mean, I asked the seller, and he's like, well, what are we going to do? Right. It's not like you're going to tell them no. A lot of sellers are yes men right now.
Right. Well, and a lot of the stuff is you have to look at, if you were buying the house, would you want this taken care of by the seller? Of course. And I always tell people, if, how would you feel if this was happening to you? Do the same thing, because you're going to be buying something else, and that's what's going to happen for you. So do the same way. Don't take, I'm not doing anything on this one, but the one I'm buying, I'm going to ask for everything.
Yeah.
That just gets you in trouble.
Yeah. And again, it's just being more within this market. Again, it just feels more normal, right? Where it's like, there's certain standards, obviously, that a buyer, you want a decent roof, a good roof.
Right.
You want, certain things like your AC to be functioning properly, things like that. Obviously, you need to make sure, that everything is functioning properly. And, again, we're spending a lot of money when it comes down to this, and, you're going into it, and it is a big investment. And that's why, it is always important to, even to touch on kind of finances. Like that's always been a big thing too. Whatever market you're in, I always stress the importance of go to your lender, find out, exactly how much, not don't just go to your max, but find out what you're going to be comfortable at. Because also, when we give you these numbers, these are numbers of the monthly payments. You also got to be able to, be comfortable. And if you want to sustain your lifestyle too, a lot of the times, it is possible. You just don't need to overstretch.
And you also got to make sure you have money for maintenance and other stuff that comes up, because, and that forever I was telling people, get a home warranty, right? And it's part of this, but you don't know this, but my air conditioner started leaking. It was replaced 5 years ago by a home warranty company. Well, come to find out, the guy who replaced it, he didn't level it.
Okay.
And so now it's, it created enough backup to where now it's leaking inside the house because it's on the roof. And it took him a while. Two things he didn't do. One, he didn't increase the duct size at the intake, right? He left it at the smaller one, which was for the unit smaller, not the new unit. And then he didn't level it right. And so that took a while to figure all that stuff out. What I'm getting at is, if you have a home warranty and your air conditioner goes out or your heater goes out, you don't have to have them get the tech to fix it. You can actually take the buyout and go get your own person who's local. You'll pay a little bit more on your side, maybe $1,200 to $1,400 more on your side, but you're dealing with a reputable company. They'll come back. The other thing he didn't do was he didn't put a grommet over the electrical. So when they moved it to level it, it shorted it out. So
yeah,
be careful. That's what I'm getting at. People are coming to your house. Make sure they're not that he wasn't licensed, but if they're living off the home warranty stuff, they might not be the best.
Yeah, no. And again, and it's nothing to say too about, home warranties. I mean, they're great, right? It's like, it's one of those things where across the board. I mean, you pay for the $500, and I always do, always try to incorporate it in the offer and have the sellers pay for it for the buyers. It's kind of like the standard. For a while, wasn't, I was paying for them or, having, pretty much, just whichever way it was going. But, yeah, it's one of those things where, I mean, I get it, it's only for the first year or whatever. And then
Well,
afterwards
you can
do
actually
it.
extend it.
Yeah. Yes. So, that's where I tell everybody, it's good to have. I mean, even just for that 1 year, even if it's for that 1 year and something happens, you're covered. And like you said, I would do the same thing. Just take the buyout, be more
Well,
sure.
and I didn't on that one. That's on me. But
Mm.
now I know. I did it at my cabin because I didn't want somebody coming from Modesto up there to work on it because, they're not local.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to go back to that company if there's a problem. Well, thank goodness I did that because up there was much better. So
Yeah,
I learned a lesson, and you would just be careful. If it's the garbage disposal, no big deal. If it's a microwave, no big deal. But a big issue like that, I would make sure that it's somebody local.
No, definitely. Yeah. And then again, like when we're talking about like big ticket items as well, like for example, the AC, or, I've even had some too, where it's kind of like, just like leaks as well. Like I had one where a client, they had just bought, and I believe what happened was that when the seller, everything was fine until the seller removed their fridge. And when they did, I think that they left the water line,
Mm-hmm.
they left it on, and it was just
and they
leaking.
cracked it.
Yeah, it was just leaking in the wall.
Yeah, what they probably did was probably just a copper pipe going through there, not a really good put in.
Yeah.
And when they pulled it out, oh shoot, we forgot to disconnect that. They disconnected it and it's cracked.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy. And I guess, just touching on the whole buyer beware thing as well, when you consider when you're purchasing, and I always tell people this, just because a house looks super pretty doesn't exactly mean, you're going to get wowed by it. Sometimes it's almost better. Like if that's what you're looking for is, how pretty it is, go buy something that's a bit cheaper, negotiate some closing costs, and try to do some of the things if you can, to your own taste and liking as well. And as you move forward, because, yeah, like I said, this is my own personal experience buying from an investor right now. And it's just, yeah, it kind of just leads to the whole thing of like, man, you do just have to be cautious. And again, I love the idea of investing, it's something I'm going to be doing as well, but it's just one of those things where you do have to be cautious, because there are some out there that are going to spend a bit more on the stuff that doesn't matter as much, or isn't like the bones and the foundation of the house
or the roof.
know what I mean?
The first thing a flipper should do if they're flipping a home, an older one, replace the roof. That's because that gives them 25 years of not worrying about the roof. When we bought our cabin, a flipper had it and he did all this stuff inside, but didn't replace the roof. And that's the first thing he should have done. I mean, it was fine, but it only had 7 years left on that. You can tell when shingles are starting to not fail, but get it to age. And it just makes it easier for the buyer buying it, because they're buying their first house, first time home buyer in that price point. They're not going to have an extra 7 to 10 grand to replace a roof down the road.
Yeah, no. And those are the things too that are huge, like we're saying. I mean, and it's exactly like you said, a lot of the times, if you cut back as an investor and put in, like you're saying, on these big ticket items, it does, you could find a lot more value there. But it's to each their own, right? Everyone kind of does it how they do. But that's the thing too, right? Is just because it's like I'm saying, I mean, I am going to be going back to this seller and asking them about this plumbing stuff. I'm going to say, hey, I want it to code, so if anything, it's kind of biting them, back in the butt. So
do it right. The first time.
Yeah.
All right, Francisco, thanks for coming on the show. Anything else you want to drop before we go?
No, all good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in. It's been a couple of weeks. You've been kind of busy.
Yeah, I know. Life's been crazy this month.
That's all right. We'll get you back in next week. And again, everybody, thank you for watching, and make it a great day. Francisco, thanks for coming in. Thanks for talking about the buyer beware.
Thank you.
All right.